I want to talk about evil, and I want to talk about why it is ultimately unsustainable. We're living in a moment where the polarity of this world feels very sharp. Corruption is surfacing, and things that were hidden are being exposed. And when that happens, it can feel destabilizing. In the law of one material, consciousness evolves through polarity. There's what Ra calls service to others and service to self, and both are paths of development that create intelligence, but they move in opposite directions. The negative path is about control and domination, separation, extraction. It's parasitic. It feeds on fear and fragmentation. And angels and demons are not what most people have been taught. They're advanced intelligence polarities. Angels are positive polarity and demons are negative polarity. And the law of one refers to the negative polarity beings as the Orion group. They seek power through control. They influence civilizations through distortion and deception. They amplify fear and separation. And they work to recruit others into negative polarity. The idea of polarity is not new. Paul actually talks about it in Ephesians. He says our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and authorities, principalities and powers, against spiritual forces in the heavenly realms. Well, he's describing organized fields of consciousness, suprapersonal intelligence, systems of influence that operate above individual humans, but through individual humans. And when consciousness is fragmented, human beings become conduits for those forces. And that's what negative polarity does. It organizes around control and separation. But keep in mind, Paul never says panic. He says stand firm, put on truth, put on awareness, align yourself, because these forces cannot sustain themselves indefinitely. They require unconsciousness to operate. And once people begin to awaken, their grip weakens. We're in a threshold moment, an awakening moment. Things look bleak only because illusions are crumbling. In reality, the exposure of evil is the first step in disarming it. In this 3D world of form, we incarnate with amnesia. We forget who we are. And that forgetting makes us vulnerable. It makes it easier for manipulation to happen. And whether you see that literally or symbolically, psychologically, it's very true. When we forget our own sovereignty, we're easily controlled. But here's the key: negative polarity is inherently unstable. Control requires force. And the nature of the universe is restorative. Reality organically flows toward the positive polarity. So choosing negative polarity requires effort and intention. It's ultimately unsustainable. Evil has to keep feeding itself. It cannot rest. And those who choose to operate in negative polarity will eventually collapse under the weight of it all. Evil always self-destructs. The sudden exposure of deep corruption and systemic evil can feel overwhelming, and it might be tempting to lose hope. And that's a normal reaction. And though it is unpleasant, it also is a sign that we're moving in the right direction, because we're moving into a collective transformation. And every transformation, whether personal or collective, requires a dark night of the soul. You do not awaken by bypassing illusion. You awaken by seeing through it. That process, by its nature, is disorienting. You grieve, you lose your footing, you realize that you have nothing to hang your hat on. Everything you believed was a distortion. My own awakening in 2014 came through a very intense dark night of the soul. Everything I thought I knew was unraveled, and it was painful, but it reorganized me. It shifted my orientation, and it brought about necessary growth. And that's what's happening collectively right now. Neptune moving into Aries dissolves illusions around identity and will. Saturn entering Aries brings accountability. And the world feels like it's shaking right now because structures built on distortion cannot sustain themselves indefinitely. What needs to be shaken is being shaken. And it's important to keep in mind that when negative polarity begins to lose control, it often intensifies. And as it intensifies, it will become more visible, which is a good thing. Exposure is necessary. It's what always precedes collapse. The invitation right now is not to spiral into fear. It's to stabilize internally, regulate your nervous system. Reactive emotional energy only serves to sustain and perpetuate the evil systems. Fear, outrage, and chronic reactivity just feed the very structures that we claim to oppose. Our only way forward is to refuse to feed the machine. We must choose sovereignty. We must respond rather than react. Darkness ultimately self destructs because it's built on separation, and consciousness is evolving toward integration. We're not witnessing the end of the world, we're witnessing a dark night. And dark nights are initiations. So don't be disoriented by the darkness, be refined by it. Let what collapses collapse, let what's false fall away. Stabilize your inner world, choose coherence over chaos. The future doesn't belong to fragmentation. It belongs to those who can hold light without hatred and truth without fear. This is not the end, it's only a threshold. And may we all stay centered in love and truth. And as always, cosmic blessings and peace.